Hey.
Hey. Let's go.
All right, jumping right into it. Welcome back to another episode of the Lightdrop podcast. Just two friends, two homies, talking creativity and beyond. My name's Jamil.
My name is Jeff.
Jeff, kick us off, man. What you got for me today?
Yeah, so I'm gonna kick us off with this book that I recently listened to, stumbled upon it. Sometimes I'll be YouTubing when I'm just, I'm feeling lazy. Let me just find out like conspiracy theories or random podcasts about war. But this time, war, I don't know,
like the funk
Napoleon or
man.
Huh?
You don't know about that?
About what?
No, go ahead.
Nah, but yeah, sometimes I just stumble upon random great videos. But this time I found a great video that just aligned with so many things that you and I talk about on the show. And that is The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin, which is his new book that just came out. It's his only book, I believe. And do you know Rick Rubin is?
Yeah, he's a music producer, right?
Yeah,
But he's like multiple genres though, isn't he? Like he's not like when you think of like, okay, music producer, like he's like this like quiet force, right? He's been around for a while and he's been on a lot of, right? Am I right about that? Rick
Yeah.
Rubin?
No, you're
Yeah.
100% right. He's and I've also known kind of the same thing, but I think after listening to this book, I was like, I got to research this guy a little bit.
You just throw
Um,
me off. You saying I
huh?
listen to his book.
I listened to his book. I had to because it was just a random great YouTube gem. But yeah, so Rick Rubin is a producer, executive producer. He co-founded Def Jam Records.
Oh, I
He
didn't know
co-founded
that.
it with Russell Simmons. Um, he had started it in college himself, and then because he went to school in New York, and then he met Russell Simmons at I think at a party or something, and obviously he didn't have any credit, no one knew who he was, and he wanted to get into hip hop, so he was like, "Let me join in with Russell. He's got the connections," and that's where it took off. So the thing about Rick Rubin that makes him special is that he doesn't play any of the instruments. He doesn't know about any like garage band or Fruity Loops or whatever it's called. He doesn't work with any of that. He just listens. That's all he does. He listens to your music, and then he listens to you as a person. So he's asking himself questions about you. It's kind of like a therapy session. Um, there was an episode on Dave about this where he
Eve,
meets
what is that?
Dave, the show on FX,
No, I've never
right?
seen that.
I swear we talked about this. I recommended
Uh,
this to you.
bro, this is the first time I'm hearing about Dave.
Dave, you should watch. It's kind of weird, but there's an episode specifically with Rick Rubin, or it's supposed to be, where he takes Dave on this spiritual journey because Dave has lost, his way. But yeah, that in short, that's what he does. So in the book,
Wait a minute. He's the producer. He's a producer, right? So how does he actually produce? He just kind of like delegates essentially
yeah,
once he listens to you, and he just brings in the musicians and stuff and
I
says,
would think
"I want
I
it to
think
sound
it's
like
more
this."
than that. I think it's probably some of that where it's like just listening to the quality of the song. Um, but I think what he does is, like, let's say, you're working on an album, you want to take it to the next level. You maybe you play for him and he just sits there and he listens to it, and then he might ask you questions like, what did you mean when you said this? Did you actually mean what you said? How did you feel when you said it? Um, what's going on with your life? Like, why did you make this album? Is it important to you? And he's not like sitting there and telling you like this is what you need to be producing. I think he's just helping you go to the next level as a person so that you can make the best music that you can.
I
So
didn't realize that. I thought that he was, just like your traditional music producer where he would make music. But I
Yeah.
guess okay, so he's essentially like so you don't show up to Rick Rubin with a blank canvas.
I mean, you
You
can,
I
I
mean, I guess
think.
you can. I mean, like
Yeah.
blank canvas as in like some tangible that you already like or like you didn't record yet, like or like had an
Yeah.
idea kind of like he'll essentially just like help you bring it's like you said, he's like a producer therapist
Yeah.
almost.
Basically,
That's
there was this
interesting.
there was this because I was when I was researching him, there was this question like, what does Rick Rubin actually do? He doesn't
Yeah.
play the instruments, like he just sits there, like he looks so like gruffy and rough, like
Uh-huh.
he looks like he doesn't belong. But people were like, this is the difference between, you know, um, because Jamil, you've produced music before, you know how to do that, you know how to play
Yeah.
instruments. But there's another side of producing where um, it's like getting people to see a vision, maybe like getting them to that point, um, without using like actual instruments or anything. So that's what he does. But but yeah, so in the book, I definitely encourage you to listen to it, to buy it on Audible. Apparently, you can listen to him actually reading it, and the way that he reads it is very like calm and meditative. So one gem that I got from him was your desire to create must be greater than your fear of it. So he was just talking about when artists don't want to make stuff, you have to think about ways to get yourself through like this funk of not wanting to do it. You just have to remember that, like, I get to do this. Like, how many people in the world get to figure out,
Yeah.
these challenges?
I'm just imagining now that I know what he does or doesn't do, I'm
Yeah.
just kind of thinking back to like cuz I know like, his name has come up before in like reference to like certain albums that I had listened to or whatever where they talk about like his influence or like I'll have I've seen interviews with like Kanye and artists like that um who've just talked about him. But now actually knowing what he does, like my interpretation of that before was like, okay, they're just in the studio together collaborating on this thing that's the artist's thing, and he's just kind of pushing the knobs and being a technical kind of guy to help them bring it out. But like you said, in reality, he's actually just sort of this presence that's like
Exactly.
almost like this almost like this like I think like if this was like an animated movie, he'd be like this like ethereal being that just kind of like, oh, I need Rick Rubin in the studio with me, and he's just
Yeah,
like this this thing that's there for good vibes, and
exactly.
just
He's like
like you just ask it
helping you,
questions. Yeah,
Rick Rubin, help me.
exactly. This like guide to that's interesting, and I
Yeah.
wonder
And
like
what's up? Go ahead.
no, I'm wondering like if that's something that he can teach. Does he get into that in the book at all? Like,
Um, no, I don't think he talks about teaching. Maybe he does, and I just missed it. But he doesn't seem like the type of person who wants to be like here, and he's like, I got to be doing video courses or going to lectures. He kind of seems like he's free flowing. Like he'll do like
yeah,
random podcasts. He's done this book, and the thing about him is that he doesn't want to be put into a box where it's like, this is who I am, or this
like
is,
he's Rick Rubin. He's not a
yeah, he's
producer.
just
He's just he's
Rick Rubin. He doesn't even pick a specific genre to work in. He just works in like
yeah.
whatever music. He's like, I like that. Let's work on it. So
That's interesting, man. Cause like I don't like I said, I'm thinking about like if that's something you can teach, as in like what skill set is that? Like he doesn't like he has to have some kind of I'm imagine like musical background, even if it's just
yeah,
even if it's just an incredible like like interest in it where he just listens to it all the time. He's just like
Yeah.
hearing
No,
things, but like
he does for sure.
he
He played music in like high school or something.
okay.
He was like in a band.
Yeah,
So I'm sure he knows it, but I feel like
that's
and
like
then it's probably like the other thing because he's a very good listener to the actual music.
exactly.
I think he can pick up, the nuances of it to like say like, why did you put that screaming woman in the back? Like,
Yeah.
what
It's
was the
funny.
point of
No,
that?
it's funny. He's like, as we're like talking about what he does, I'm just thinking of like he's just giving credibility um to like quality feedback and like thought
Yeah,
and like, um value that you can bring to somebody without actually being hands on, from the standpoint
exactly.
of like pushing and pulling knobs and levers and stuff. It's like you can be of tremendous value to someone and to the point where like I mean like you said he doesn't put himself in a box, so he doesn't I'm sure he wouldn't say that he like this is his job, but it's like you could he's made money off of it, he's got credits and obviously all of that stuff, so it's like you can position yourself to be that person, in various places, in your
Yeah,
industry, um whatever that is, to just be this person that's like just really good at getting the most out of people, even
yeah,
though you may not be the best actual drawer or painter or something. Like you still have these master designers or musicians or artists that are still coming to you for advice, even though you know they're so good already. It's
mhm,
like, how can you be that person that even the best want to come to get better? You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like I think of our sports analogy again. Like we always kind of poke at from time to time is like the training staff that these athletes have. These athletes on these top sports teams. Kind of same deal. I
mhm,
imagine there's probably someone equivalent to like Rick Rubin in the athletic arena too that we probably
yeah,
don't even know about, but someone that like these athletes will go to just to like get their mind right or um you know get better at this particular thing, or like who does Steph Curry go to
yeah,
to help with his shot, to make his shot even better, like he's already
yeah,
the best shooter on the planet, probably in history, but there's probably someone to him that he could go to help work on it even more. It's like,
yeah.
how do you be that person?
And he finds them, and I think that it's interesting because I think with high like art, I mean not artists, athletes that have such a big impact on the court like that, to be able to maintain your like mental focus as you're going through like a play, like I'm pretty sure there's a lot of pressure on them, but they've built that like safeguard of like believing in themselves. So I'm sure those people who are helping them are like they're good. Like Rick Rubin is
Yeah,
good at what he does because he can get people to believe in themselves.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and I just wanted to share one last gem, which I thought was super interesting, and it's about finding ideas. So he was just talking about different ways that we can kind of tune in to the energies of the universe. Is the way that he kind of described it. Is that ideas are sometimes like unexpected thoughts that come back, old memories that become seeds, and then those seeds are then small pieces that lead to ideas, and those ideas are actually signals traveling through space and time. They're tiny whispers, and to hear those whispers, an artist has to be quiet. So you can't even get to that point if you're like what do I do? Freaking out. So just a great,
Yeah, no, that resonates with me a lot.
yeah, man.
A lot for sure. I think it's funny, like, I think all the time it's like when you um have experienced it, that quietness, um, then you know, like, where those ideas come from. And so it's like you that's what leads you to want to go back to that quiet place, right?
Hmm.
It's like however you do it, right? I think meditation is almost like this buzzword now. Um and it creates this mental image of someone sitting still in a chair or something like that, but you can meditate in whatever way works for you, right? Like that may be drawing, that may be painting, that may be um running, people who love running kind of thing. You can hit that flow state in many different ways, and it's from that like quietness that you start to kind of realize that that voice in your head isn't necessarily always you. Like it's in
Hmm.
your voice. It's not like you hear this booming, bellowing, I am whatever, blah 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 blah, blah, hear me. Like
Yeah,
it's not like you're hearing voices. Like it's
yeah,
always that voice in your head is always your voice. But sometimes when you're quiet enough, you realize that that was that was like that came from somewhere else. Like
yeah.
that was like I kind of like received that, you know? Like I
Hmm.
received this idea that just ran through my head. And it's those are the ideas that like write that down, like follow that. You know what I mean? Like you got
Yeah,
to be quiet enough to pick it out and to differentiate, but it's like when you are like in tune enough and quiet enough to notice those ideas, like you said, the
yeah,
reception of those ideas, those are like those are the ones that you follow and turn into great work.
yeah, man. 100%. And we talked about this last episode, getting rid of distractions, and that is a way that you can get to these ideas, these gems, and even quieting your mind. But yeah,
Have you
that's
ever
what
had
I
that
had.
experience
Yeah, of quieting my mind, or just like
of like yeah,
getting.
of like, quieting your mind to the point where, you had a thought, but it was like that thought's different and you're like, let me really like look into this and really
Yeah,
like, it's like this confidence that you have in it that's like this is a big thought. Like this is like this kind of came to me. Like we talk all the time about like this collaborative effort that is the art that you're making. It's this culmination of experiences and other people's words that have been said to you, your parents kind of, your upbringing, the friends you hang out with, like all that is what kind of comes out of you when you create. And so
yeah,
from that standpoint, it's this collaborative effort. So have you ever had that experience where it's like you kind of receive this thought and it's like, you know, this is coming from somewhere else, and I'm gonna be the one that's gonna like that is gonna come out of, but I'm not necessarily gonna like take complete ownership of this from like from your
yeah,
standpoint, right? Have you ever experienced that?
yeah. I've experienced that like multiple times, and I try to do it a lot more naturally without like sitting to, and then it's been like, oh, like days, and I'm like, well, what, how did I get to that place again? But yeah, it happens when I'm trying to figure out problems, come up with ideas, and I usually just go wash the dishes so I can step away from whatever it is that I'm thinking. And I think it saved me a bunch of times because I've if I'm not relying on, what do I know like right now, um and like what are the constraints or the limitations of whatever it is that I'm looking at currently. when I'm able to step away from them, um, I'm a lot more fluid with my thoughts and ideas, and things just kind of seem to fall into place. Somewhere I could. It's almost like I'm sitting and I'm working, and then there's this like, or if not, I'm not sitting and working. I'm washing dishes, and then there's like an art director behind me whispering in my ear. What if you did
Yeah, that's
this?
kind of like yeah, that's like what it is.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's like I'm not on the computer, but like I could still think. You know, after a few seconds of just like taking a breath, um, an idea will come across, and I'll try to hang on to it. And most of the time, those unexpected ideas tend to be the best ones because they're like you said, they're coming from somebody else.
If you're listening to this and you're just like, oh, that's a bunch of mumbo jumbo, I bet money that you're in the vast minority. Like
Mhm.
like people definitely um resonate with that. Like that zone, getting into that zone is is different, man. I think for me, it's definitely been music has like where I have my most memorable um memories of being in
Mhm.
that zone is like when I'm composing something just like I can even think back to like college where it's been like 2 3 in the morning is in the dorm room or whatever, and it's
Mhm.
just been like a few hours and it's just quiet and I'm just like time has stopped and I'm just in that zone like making something and it's like I can hear it like already and I'm just like oh making it and then you kind of like listen back to it like like there's still songs that I made that I'll listen to and I just remember like exactly where I was sitting where
Mhm.
when I like played that note or like what I was doing when I had the idea to like include this instrument or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like that those are the kind of experiences when you're in your work that help you to be like super enthusiastic about it once you show it to others because it's
Yeah.
like it's like it just instills this new level of confidence in it because you're not like, oh, are people gonna like it? You're like, of course, people are gonna like this. Someone's gonna like this because like something more came. Is what kind of like made this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's funny because that's another quote I was going to share from Rick Rubin. He says that as artists, we aim to see the extraordinary in the mundane, and then we challenge ourselves to share what we see so that others can experience what we've experienced, even just a tiny bit. And I feel like that's what it is. It's like when when I heard that, I was like, man, like that's the thing, that feeling that you capture, and you're like, I gotta I gotta tell somebody about this, man. Like all the things that we've thought about, if if it's worth if it's worth you seeing it, then it's worth making it at the end of the day.
I mean, we were just
So
talking. We were just talking about like that aspect of things. Like really being like in tune and yeah, man, like I don't know, like I think this stuff is like super fascinating and I feel like there's these intangibles that um that artists are slowly and slowly more and more starting to see as the important aspects
mhm,
of their craft, not not the mechanical skill of being able to um paint or draw or the knowledge of like you can learn all of that, you know what I mean.
yeah,
It's like and you can practice it and of course it's important, right? But it's like you got to work on these too. It's not like these are just gifts,
yeah,
like these are things that you can improve at is being able to get quiet enough to be in that place, to be able to find that place of the zone, easier. It's not this far out like place that you only get to like in certain moments. Like you can practice slowing down. And our discussion last year um kind of led back to AI a ton, because that's a
Mhm.
big talking point now. And like we've said before, this aspect of being an artist is what's going to separate us in the future. Is are these skills of being able to bring the most out of people, like being able to connect and to add value in ways, more than just your technical ability, right? To bring emotion out of people, to help people
Mhm.
fine tune their ideas. And just the way you said Rick Rubin does, like these are like the skill sets that are going to be sought after in creative industries, like when they're looking for, and it's a shame too, because I feel like artists are catching up to that, but maybe not necessarily those who are hiring artists. It's
Mhm.
like the whole kind of recruitment process is still a bit antiquated, in that you want to they want to see your demo reel, they want to see the work you've done. And it's like they may not even be in that place um like, I don't know how to, I guess, like higher objectivity, if that makes sense. It's like they might
Yeah.
they may not be in that place of like being able to see what you've got, um and and determine based off of that, like, okay, this person and this person are both technically the same, but this person's got a little bit more. This person's able to bring stuff out of people. This person is like someone who people want to go to like really refine their ideas. And um
Mhm.
it's like, how do you show that when all they ask for is your demo reel and your cover letter and stuff like that. So it's like I feel like that's a bit of a big frustration with like artists too, is like
Yeah.
is it seems like there's a bit of lagging behind with that, but I think it's coming like more and more
Yeah.
widespread.
Sorry. And I feel like it's difficult because it's like, as a junior artist, an introduction will do you wonders, but it's almost like, how do you don't know anybody yet. And, you're trying to get people to sort of vouch for you. And for the most part, they're probably betting on, or you're betting on them seeing that, okay, like I'm a decent person. Yes, I'm good at what I do, but like I have a desire to be greater or something. And if you're just throwing your resume out into the abyss, um, recruiters not going to see that. They're not. They don't have enough time. They're too busy.
Yeah.
Um, so no, it's incredibly important, to have that
Yeah.
like for you when you're applying for
I-
jobs.
it's almost like, when you're especially when you're first starting out and you're looking for a job, it's very much about like, look what I could do, look what I can do, look what I can do. um but maybe um the way to separate yourself is like to show like, look what I can help other people do. Look what I can get out of other people. Like how could you show that, if that was like, if you knew for sure that that would land you the job, and you just had to figure out how to show a recruiter that,
Mm,
how would you do it? How would you demonstrate that you can bring out, um you know the best from the best?
yeah,
Like,
it's difficult, man. I think
food for
that's
thought.
probably like the biggest question. I think I feel like the best place. I feel
I feel
the best
like
place is to. I feel like the best place is to start with ourselves. Like like we talk about, because it is difficult. It's a it's a skill. It is something that some people have, and some people don't have yet.
Yeah. Yet,
So
and it's like, and
yeah.
you need people to, I guess, like, to start, you definitely need people to vouch for you, right? In some way, shape, or form, because it's like, you're gonna bring the best out of somebody. Obviously, someone else was involved in that process. So it's like, you know, building these connections and these more than just networking. Like, it's like this 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 like enhancing almost, like,
Hmm.
how can you like make people feel like when they're working with you, they level up, you know? Like, you don't need to
Yeah.
be the best. You don't need to be the best artist in the room to be that person. Like, not even close, you know? And it's like,
Hmm.
I think that that's definitely a skill set that you got to make sure you're working on and thinking about, and just, just food for thought, I think that
Yeah.
that's actually
Getting the
probably a
most
really good. Yeah, go
out of
ahead.
people. No, I was saying like that's 100% true. Like I you hold bigger value based on, at least society wise, I believe, based on the impact that you can have on other people. It doesn't really matter what
Yeah.
you can do for yourselves. It's like people want stuff to be done for them. Like everyone's like, you know, uh, most for the most part, I believe a lot of art is about almost making things for yourself, or even your own ability to show that I'm as good as, you know, I say I am at this thing. But there's another part of it where it's like, how are the people around you better because of you? Because I guarantee that most studios, most companies, they want you to be able to do something that can impact like their group of people. They don't really care about, you're good at what you do and you're in a hole somewhere and that's it.
That makes me think of, like, role players in sports. It's like, you've
Hmm.
got plenty of guys and girls who've made careers out of just being the person who gets the rebounds, like,
Yeah.
or that person that just is like the big motivator on the team, like, they can keep up when it comes to the tangible skills. They're certainly not the best on the team, but like, you still have to have that person on your team because of what they bring, otherwise. And I guess, like, just to round this thought out, like, what me and Jeff are saying is that's very much something that you can learn and practice, to be able to kind of cultivate that in yourself. It's not necessarily a gift, um, that you're born with, to be able to
Hmm.
bring the best out of people. So if you're if you're feeling, like, you may have hit a wall, as far as like a job search goes, or even as far as like, if you're already in a position somewhere and you feel like maybe you're not moving up, as fast as you would want to be, or progressing or something, like, um and you haven't taken a look at these skills that you have, maybe take a look there, and try and practice these things to see, if you can improve your ability to really be that person on your team, whatever team you're involved in.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think, and do we have any closing remarks as we
Well, I
go
think, I
down?
mean, I s- I think that this is a good, because remember, I was telling Jeff, um before we got on the podcast today, about
Yeah.
this video I saw. Well, I didn't see the video. I was told about the video. in extreme detail by someone. And
He's
it was
listening.
essentially this woman who did an experiment, just, from what I gathered, it was like an experiment, like, around confidence, essentially, and she walked around the streets of Manhattan wearing, um, a very kind of, like, elegant dress, essentially, like, very form-fitting, something that you would wear to, like, um, if you were trying to really dress up and dress to impress,
Hmm.
certainly something you wouldn't see all the time just through the streets of New York.
Hmm.
And she was wearing this, and she just noticed that she was getting a lot of looks, a lot of, a couple of cat calls, like necks craning, and also a ton of compliments from like other women, who would come up to her and just like, go out of their way to come up to her and say like, "Oh my God, I love your dress. I love, your hair. You look so beautiful," and this, that, and the third. And then she did the same experiment where she was wearing just like her regular kind of comfortable clothes. Nothing that would like make her stand out. And
Hmm.
essentially just like as you would expect, she kind of turned not invisible, but like she could just kind of see like the alternative was, instead of people overtly coming up to her, complimenting her, she still looked nice. It's like she may have seen someone, maybe like referencing her, or like pointing at her, like discreetly, like, "Hey, like look at her, look at her shoes, look at her, whatever." You know.
Hmm.
Um, but what was interesting was she mentioned that as she was wearing her clothes that she normally wore, obviously she was really comfortable, like in those clothes. And when she was wearing the other clothes, not necessarily saying that she was uncomfortable, but she just wasn't like familiar, and that's not something she wore often. So she just kind of felt like, like
Hmm.
this was a moment, like, and
Yeah.
and and I think that that's what kind of like exuded from her, like oozed from her, was that confidence difference. Um
Mm.
to say that, what I got out of that was to say that your confidence, the way you feel, like, is literally like pouring from you, whether you're, at all kind of moments in time, right? So it's like
Hmm.
when you're trying to portray to someone, um, confidence in yourself, confidence in someone else, confidence in your idea, something you made, um, or whatever, there's it's more than just your words. It's like people kind of perceive you, whether you like it or not, really based on how you feel. So it's
Hmm.
like to really pay attention to not just how you dress, not just how you talk, but how you feel in your skin, like when you
Yeah.
walk into a room, when you go to work, when you go to an interview, even when you write an email, you know, like
Yeah.
humans can pick that up.
Yeah.
Um and so it just had me thinking, like, to another thing that we're always talking about on this pod is like mindfulness, and just wanted to kind of see if you had like, or if you can concur, like as far as like feeling that way, like, and noticing a difference, like there was a time, do you have an experience like that, where there was a time where you
Yeah.
may not have felt as comfortable and
Yeah. I have two stories. Okay, so when I was in I think eighth, maybe ninth grade, I thought that I was the shit. I was the best graphic designer in the world, honestly. I was like, I had the audacity, bro. I thought that I was gonna become famous in like 3 years or something. So that's when I was like, and the thing was, it was funny because it was like I was going after things I had no right going after. Like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna start like a media company, a web design agency, whatever it was. Everything was possible, right? So I've had those moments where like the confidence level is like through the roof, like But and then there's times where it's like it's difficult to sort of balance it, where it's like, okay, like I feel confident, but I'm unsure of certain things, so it kind of comes down a little bit. But for me, what's always worked is definitely being aware of like how am I feeling about myself, because especially because if I'm if I'm presenting some work, or if I'm going outside, or if you know I
Oh
want
my
people
god,
to
going outside.
going outside, dun dun dun, people are gonna see me, right? I gotta I have to make sure that I do everything I can to make sure that I feel as good as I can, because people will see, they'll look at you in the eyes and just be like, you don't look like you're here or something. Like, humans are very good at it. Kids can tell,
Yeah, kids
animals
will
can
tell
tell.
you,
Literally,
"See, what's wrong with that man?
why is he crying? Like,
Why is he
he's
crying? He's not
literally
crying."
crying.
Yeah, I could tell he's like he was crying.
Yeah, what's wrong with him? Kids would be like, why are you crying? For real, man. But
No, but the funny thing about that though, like seriously, is like that's still in us. That didn't go anywhere.
yeah,
It's like that
yeah,
perceptiveness, it's like it kind of got, got kind of quote unquote, not literally, but quote unquote, like beaten out of us, where we don't just call people out like,
yeah,
overtly the way a kid would, tell you that you're, you know, why are his shoes so ugly? What are those?
yeah. What's wrong with your
Like
hair?
exactly.
Yeah,
So, but we have that, we still
yeah,
have that perception, and it's like, you know, it comes across, and it's, I think, a good way to like, it's it's a good thing to realize that, because you realize that like the way you feel and like notice about other people is like you have that and you do that. And so like, and you don't
yeah,
kind of like criticize yourself for that. It's like, so when you can kind of like realize that other people are having those perceptions of you too, and just it's just humans, and it's like we have that perceptiveness, and it's like nothing personal, is people are just noticing things. So it's just kind of like more kind of fuel to to want to just take a moment, like you said, before you leave the house, like, okay, this is a new segment I'm about to go into. I'm about to go to the store. Like whatever I was doing, it was bothering me. Like I'm working on something, I couldn't figure it out, or it's like it's not working the way I wanted it to. Like that's not what I'm doing right now. I'm going to the store,
hmm,
and I'm going to, enjoy being away from my desk, and like, just making those little micro kind of like checks over the course of the day is really enough to kind of make sure that you're always aware of what you're oozing, you know, like
exactly.
unconsciously, and what people are picking up on.
Yeah, and to that point, also, it's like when you don't have that confidence in yourself, you can feel the tension in your body. A lot of times,
Mhm.
there's this like meme where people will say like, "Oh, when you're an artist and you're stressed, you start working with your shoulders up, and the
Yeah.
tension is like stuck there." So
Yeah.
imagine you're just walking around like that, and you don't even realize because you're so
Yeah.
stressed. So it's like you said, it's like it's good to remind yourself to relax, because as artists, we are constantly flexing our muscles, our creative juices, and if you don't have that confidence in yourself, you're leaving a lot on the table, basically, your potential on the table. But yeah,
And how
should
can
we?
you and how can you be Rick Rubin? I bet you Rick Rubin's got
Exactly,
all the confidence. you know?
exactly. Nah, he's yo. You should just a couple of videos when you just see him talking. He looks like he's uh he's just enjoying himself constantly. I mean, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
he's not like happy 24/7. He might be actually,
Yeah.
but for the most part, he's just like
Yeah,
flowing.
just just easy going.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, should we close out?
I think that's a good place to close out.
Yeah.
Jeff, I'll see you next week.
See you next week, y'all. Peace.
Peace.